Right, we are busy still solving equations. Every time you get to solving an equation, solve it, you must assess. Is this linear? No. Is this quadratic? No. Is it exponential? Yes. No. Those three are usually the ones that they are. So this one, because the exponent is a rational number, a fraction, it's got some little quirks to it. But still, the basics of it is you want to get x. And there is only one x to go and get for now. So if I have to go and get the x alone, what is there to do?
Times by 2.
Exponent to the power of 2. Exponent to the power of 2. Meaning that this answer would be, that's it. Now what about the quirks? If you can't remember what I said to you about the quirks, what do you test? Test for 9. See if your calculator says 9 to the half is actually 3, and it is. Test for minus 9, and it says error, so it's not. So if you really wanted to know the stuff, it's about that half thing. If the top, the numerator, is even, it should be plus minus. No, it's not. That's why it's not plus minus. The thing about the even root, because it is an even root size, thinking back to if it's in a root, then this can't be a negative. It wasn't anyway, so no problem. So if you didn't even think about that, you were correct in this particular sum. The answer was just 9. How many marks? 2 marks. Right. Same thing, we're going to say, is it the same thing or is it not?
It's not.
It's no solution. If you had not seen it, and you went and you said square and square, then this minus 3 squared would be 9, right?
Yes.
Then you're thinking, okay, just check it. 9 to the power of a half is definitely not negative 3, it's 3. And if you even tried for negative 9, it wouldn't work anyway. So you'd see none of the two that you thought you got were right, so there's no solution. Are you with me with this funky way of doing it, to remember the actual facts? That there is only going to be one answer, but then it falls flat because an even root can't have a negative answer. That's why it's got no solution. 2 marks. Right. What am I going to do here? No solution. No, there is a solution. Why? Because it's an odd or an uneven root can have a negative answer. That's okay. I'll still go say to the power of 3 to the power of 3, and it'll give me x to the 1 is equal to negative, because to the power of 3 is an uneven amount of negatives. Negative, negative, negative 3 times. 2 gives me a plus, but the other one gives me a minus. Anything to the power of 31, a negative to the power of 31 would be plus or minus? Negative. And then 1 to any exponent is 1. So that answer is negative 1. If it's negative a, it'll still be negative, but then a to the 31. Negative exponent, uneven exponent over a negative is going to be a negative. Even exponent going to give me a positive. Right. So negative to an odd exponent gives me a negative, and 3 to the power of 3. So if you were thinking maybe plus minus, why is it not? Because that's not even. If you did try it, go back to your calculator, put in. Now what do you put into your calculator? Negative 27 to the third, like that. Nope. It has to be brackets. Because it's the whole thing to the power of the third, and that will give you negative 3. And if you tried the positive, thinking maybe it's positive as well, it didn't work. Okay. Are you getting to the testing thing of it?
Yes.
Answer? If you did try it, you'd say it to the power 4 to the power 4, you get an answer. But if you test it, it's not. Why not? Because it's an even root with this can't have a negative answer. That's why it's got no solution. This one, it's going to be plus minus. That's what that says to you. Because it's an even exponent. What are you going to do with that 2 over 3? To the multiplication of exponent 3 over 2. Which gives me my x. That was my mission. But on the other side, you've got to go plus minus, yes, and prime factors. 2 to the 6. And then when I cancel it out, it's going to be 9. I hear where you're coming from because the 2 goes into the 6 3 times, and 3 times 3 will give me 2 to the 9, which is?
512.
Okay. So eventually I'm going to get to x equals 512. But with a plus and a minus. Now I know some people, and I've seen it lots of times, they don't put the plus minus everywhere, they just put it at the bottom, which mathematically is not so nice for me. I'd like all the answers to be equal to each other, but that's not the biggest. At least you knew that it should be plus minus. That's fantastic. So the child that did everything without the plus minus lost 1 mark. Okay, and how do you know? If you only did plus, go to the top, put it in, say 5, 1, 2 to the power of 2/3, it does give you 64 sharp. Try the negative, and it also helps. Negative in a bracket to the 2/3 does give me 64. Right, for the next one,
Plus minus.
no solutions, is it?
No.
No solutions.
It's multiplied for all. It's no solution.
Okay, so if you're sitting in the beginning of the sum, you haven't done it yet, you're thinking 2 answers, plus and minus. You're thinking negative, or an uneven root, so can that be negative? Everything seems okay. But the fact is, if this is even, this can't be negative either. Because how can I, if I ask you this, what square will give me negative 64? Just that. You should say no solution. Because I'm asking you, when I square something, it must give me a negative. And something squared cannot be negative. Because whatever I square, if it's plus squared, it'll be plus. If it's minus squared, it'll be plus. So that cannot ever have an answer. Now say you didn't get that. This is where the testing comes in. You would have said to the power of 32, it's exactly the same steps as this. It was just a negative everywhere. So you got your answer plus or minus 125 and go test it. And neither one of them works. So then after all of that, what do you say? And it's all because we're busy with roots. So there is no solution. So after everything, try, getting to an answer, plus, minus, testing it, none of them works, you just say no solution. All right. For this one, something you can see from the start. Do you think it's going to be plus, minus?
Yes.
Even, but what about the negative? All it means is that this is actually 1 over something in a root. Exponent 2, root size 3. Is there any problem with that? Okay, it's uneven, so that could even have been a negative, no problem. And it's square there, so that means that there's got to be 2 answers. And if all else fails, I'm teaching you this. Test both of them. Okay, let's try it. Seems to me like nothing is a problem here. I've got to go to the power negative. Because I don't want negative in my answer, I want positive. 3 over 2. So exponent 3 over 2. This will give me x to the 1. Mission accomplished, I want x. Right? Then that'll be 16. But you guys said to me, I think we've got to have plus minus, right? Because that is even, it's got to be plus minus in my answer. Of what? 16 is 2 to the 4. 3 over 2 there. Cross multiplication, however you want to do that. 12 over 2, which is 6. Cancel out, it's 2 times 3, it's still 6. It's going to be 2 to the power 6, which is 64. So it's either plus 64 or negative 64. Test it. Is plus 64 to that power equal to 16? Is negative 64 to that power equal to negative 16, or positive 16? And both of them are true. Lots of kids will have maybe not had the plus minus. You lost 1 more. Are you with me? If you did nothing of the plus minus at the end, just remember it. See that both work, and you put plus minus, you actually right. Any problems here? Again, the negative exponent just means you've got to flip it. But there's nothing there. Problem. Alright? If that's Uneven, this could even be been a negative. If the root size is negative, but it is negative. So is there any problems here? So we can say to the power negative 2 over 3. Negative 2 over 3. This mission is accomplished, x is alone, but I've got to simplify. This is the simplification part. So 29 is 3 to the 3, because we're still saying no calculator, right? So we know we're using the calculator, but we've got to do it legally. So then they become negative 2. So x is equal to 3 to the negative 2, which is 1 over 9. And now you're thinking, maybe it should have been plus minus. Go test it. If you test for 1 over 9, does it work? If you test for minus 1 over 9, negative 1 over 9 in a bracket to the power, it doesn't work. So it's only the positive answer. Okay, what would we do in the next sum?
2 over 3.
Okay, turn it to 2 over 3. Are we allowed to do something else here? Always an alternative, right? I would like to get the 2 away first. Remember, this is my mission. So divide the whole thing by 2, then it's gone. Done and dusted. And it's x to the power then of 2 over 3. I see you liking it. Divided by 2 there is 4. And we're going to do exactly the same sum. But say you did x squared is root equal to 4. Can't you say to the power 3 to get rid of the cube root? It's what you're doing when you're saying times with 3 over 2. It's power 3 root 2. So you're going to power 3, then you're going to root 2. It's the same thing. You're hearing what I'm saying for those steps. Still, it's going to be the same procedure, just written on a different way. First to the power 3. Then to get the square away, you're going to square root that. And if you square root that, it's going to give you 8. But is this an even exponent? It's actually even already there. Yeah, you can better see that it's even. That means my answer's got to be plus or minus. If you did it this way, when you come here and put the root there yourself, you're going to put the plus and minus there yourself. So you're going to get to plus and minus 8 anyway. Many ways to do these sums, right? I'm sure everybody went for the exponent that's a fraction. Then you're going to say to the power of 3 over 2, to the power of 3 over 2. X is alone, but now remembering that it's even, it's plus and minus. If you just add it at the bottom, I will not deduct marks from you, nobody will. So it will be 2 to the 2, in a 3 over 2, 2 to the 8 is going to be left, which is equal to, no, not 2 to the 8, I'm lying, that's why everybody's quiet. 2 cancels out, I'm left with 2 to the 3. So the answer is plus or minus 8. And if you'd rather like to write x equals 8 or x equals negative 8, that's perfect. But this is acceptable for mathematicians. Alright. I know some people say if the answer is plus minus 8, it's approximately 8. Plus minus. Plus minus 100 rand that I'm giving you. It doesn't mean I'm giving you minus. Okay? This just means either 8 or negative 8. Correction, thank you guys, is that this is a negative. So I've got to have a negative there as well. This will be negative, so my answer would be 1 over 64. Thank you for helping me correct that. If it's a negative over there, that'll be negative 6, meaning that the answer is 1 over 64. I don't have to look at the heading. Just tell me what I'm going to do. No? No.
Get that.
Get the x. I want that x.
So it's the x I know.
What am I going to do? There's more than one x. It's a problem. Then I'm going to have to factorize. So every sum is an assessment when I start. This one wasn't very different from the ones we've just marked. What must you do? Divide by 3. What's going to happen? But now I want to show you something different, because yes, definitely, you can go and put it to the power, and that's what I will do. But there's something different you can do. Just go check it out for yourself. If you then put it to the power negative 3 over 2 and negative 3 over 2, answer and check it out. How many answers? Plus and minus because of the even, irrespective if it's a negative. And then if that's odd, that could even have been a negative as well. No, it can't be if it's even, what. Do the sum, test it. I want to show you something different, which you're going to have to do there, but you had a choice over here. Choice here would be better to say just to the power of 3 over 2. That would be the best choice. I'm showing you something different. So I've got... Right? So we've got what type of factorizing?
Difference of
I don't know what dots is. It's difference of squares. Right? Difference of squares. Let's talk the math language correctly. This is the difference of squares. 9 is no problem to see it's the difference of squares. 3 times 3 plus and a minus. But what times itself will give me x to the power of a negative 2, 3? Negative 1 over 3 and negative 1 over 3. Completely different from what I was telling you, the better option would have been in this sum. Is this correct though? Options, right? Factorizing. If it is the difference of squares, if that had been an 8, you couldn't do this because it's not a square. So now what would the answer become? X to the negative third equals 3, or x to the negative third equals to negative 3. And we still have that little testing thing that's going to happen. If I've got x to the power of a fraction that's in the exponent, there should be one answer. And if it's 3, that could be a negative anyway. How am I going to do the sum to get that 3? Negative 1/3 away. Power negative 3 over 1. Power negative 3 over 1. Falls away, x positive. I've achieved my goal to get x alone. We've got 3 to the negative 3, which is 27. I was waiting for 9. Excellent. And that's it. For this answer, and please go check it on the other way as well. For this answer, I've still got to do to the power of negative 3 to the power of negative 3. If you tested it, should there be 2 answers? No. That's a 3, so can there be a negative? No problem. So we've got x to the power of, now it's a negative to an odd exponent, whether it's negative, odd, doesn't matter, it's odd. The answer should be negative, and it's still going to be 3 to the negative 3, which is 1 over 27. If you did it the other way, it would be faster. And you still get to the 2 answers, and if you forgot the one answer, you can check them both. Alright, that is for factorizing. Options, you could have, you couldn't have. But this one, you have no other alternative. To solve this x, it's still a quadratic trinomial, but very different.